Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the OUA Basketball Show. My name's Griffin Porter. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are getting down to it, folks. Just a couple weeks left in the regular season, so let's get straight into it. We will start on the men's side, where we had a bunch of interesting results. The red-hot Queens Gales headlined the weekend with a win over TMU. They've now won 6 in a row to improve to 12-7 on the season. We'll do a full playoff picture breakdown after our guest today, but the Gales are starting to threaten TMU for that final first-round bye spot, and because the first tiebreaker in the OUA is head-to-head record, this is obviously a massive, massive win for Queens. Other interesting results, we saw Laurier pick up a huge win over Western, 93-92. Liebdan Abdallah hit the clutch three to give the Hawks a gigantic upset win. Check this one out for yourself.
Abdallah's going to inbound the ball here, as they will, of course, advance it after the timeout. You can see right there on your screen, 8.4 remaining in this game. Abdallah gets it in, back to Abdallah. Three off balance, it banks in!
Oh,
Leave
my
it, Abdallah!
goodness.
What an incredible shot!
Shane Bornis and Ian Watling on the call for that one for the Mustangs. But for the Golden Hawks, Aiden Whalen had a great game for Laurier, putting up 34 points to go along with Abdallah's 22, as Western continues to really struggle here in the second half of the season. Luckily for them, they did pick up a much-needed win over the Waterloo Warriors the next day. A couple tough losses for Lakehead as we stay on that men's side, as they drop games to both Carleton and Ottawa, and that drops them right into the thick of that playoff race on the men's side. A lot of teams fighting for the same seeds right now, and the Brock Badgers continue to look strong with a win over McMaster. They're going to be a formidable opponent for anyone in the playoffs this year. Over on the women's side, TMU was the one pulling off the upset over Queens as they took down the undefeated Gales in an incredible basketball game. The Bulls scoring 47 points in the second half alone to pull off the comeback. They were led by a friend of the show, gotta brag, Miriam Kone. She had 28 points, 6 assists, and 5 steals in the huge win for the Bold, as they prove that Queens can fall. The Gales can be beaten. They lose for the first time this year last weekend. Elsewhere around the league, Windsor keeps on winning to hang on to their lead in the division as they took down Waterloo and Laurier in 2 very impressive showings. The Mustangs of Western picked up 2 huge wins as they push for a better seed, and it was a strong weekend for our guest today. She picked up 2 double-doubles, including a 33-point performance in Guelph's win against Nipissing. It's Christina Morra. My guest today has arrived in the OUA and made an immediate impact with the Guelph Gryphons. She's been a lot of fun to watch all season. Very excited to have her on the show. Christina Morra. Christina, thank you so much for coming on the OUA Basketball Show.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Well, I want to start with getting to know you a little bit because it's your first season in the OUA, but certainly it's not your first season playing university-level basketball. You had a very successful career down in the NCAA. And you've come home to Canada and to Ontario to play for the Guelph Gryphons. So walk me a little bit through how that came to be that you wound up playing here for Guelph.
Yeah, so I actually didn't know that I had another year of eligibility at the time. When I left Wake Forest, I just assumed that I used up my 4 years. I didn't really think about the COVID year, and I knew that I could have like a 5th year in the States, but I didn't know where I wanted to go. So I decided to just go overseas and try that out and see how I enjoyed it. And then I decided that I wanted to get my master's and kind of pursue like further education. That was my plan. And then I found out that I could use that COVID year that didn't count towards my eligibility in Canada. So I thought might as well finish off that career at home and, see how that goes. So
what are you getting your master's in?
I'm doing public health right now.
Oh, very important. Well,
yeah.
Thank you for your service in advance. So you get the opportunity to play one more year of basketball with the Guelph Gryphons. You come into this locker room. What's it like to join the OUA after so many years in the NCAA?
Yeah, honestly, it's been great. I really enjoy the OUA game. I think it's like super fast paced, pretty physical, more physical than I anticipated it to be honest. I've taken quite a few hits, but yeah, it's been really nice. And I enjoy the game because I feel like anyone can win on any given night. We've seen a lot of upsets in the league. I mean, Laurentian beat us, so anyone can win. It depends how you show up, right? So, yeah, I think it's exciting and yeah, keeps you on your toes for sure.
Absolutely, and you've played some pro basketball as well. What do you learn from going overseas and playing the pro game that you can then take back with you to the university game over here?
That's a really good question. I would say just being like confident, being able to score down low and being like confident in my abilities. And I mean, overseas you're allowed two imports usually, so they put a lot of like pressure on you to like score and create. So I think I really developed that in my game overseas, that ability to like create down low, face up. So I think I've really translated that to playing in the OUA.
Yeah, well, we were talking before we started recording here a little bit about how I've talked to a lot of guards over the years on the show. I feel like I haven't talked to as many bigs, so I'm very curious to learn a little bit about the art of being a scoring big like you are. When you're going into a matchup, you know who you're mostly going to be matching up against. Are you preparing like a different approach per game, or do you have your sort of set post strategy that you like to get to and force them to take that away from you?
It's a really good question. I
Thank
definitely,
you.
yeah, I definitely go into the game with like understanding my personnel and who's guarding me. I mean, being guarded by someone who's like 6'5" is different from being guarded by someone that's 5'10", 5'11". So yeah, I definitely prepare for if I'm playing a smaller team, I can expect zone and I need to like nail that high post shot, get them down low in transition, seal really hard in transition. Whereas if I'm playing like a bigger player, I try and play off the short corner and high post and take them off the dribble and initiate contact and get to the line. So I definitely have like a different game plan going into it, but I always try and like stick to my main, my main post moves and that little shimmy left hook. Like that's my go-to. So I definitely incorporate that in all of my games. So
Yeah, well, it's working so far, that's for
yeah.
sure. You are also an excellent free throw shooter for a big. That's something that we don't always see. Is that something that's always come naturally to you, or do you really have to work at that to get that up to that level?
I think it's always been pretty natural for me. I've always been a pretty good free throw shooter. But I definitely think it's taken a different level this season with like just muscle memory and not thinking at the line. I've had free throw slumps before. But yeah, just getting into that mentality of like keeping the same routine every time you step up to the line and clearing your brain and just shooting the ball. I definitely think I've mastered that this season.
And we got to talk a bit about the Guelph Gryphons themselves as a unit here. You guys are having an excellent season. You're fighting for one of the top playoff seeds right now. How's the locker room feeling right now? How's everything going so far?
Yeah, it's been amazing. I think we're super excited and motivated to get to the playoffs. And I mean, we've had a couple of losses, but we've definitely used those as fuel and like playing with a chip on our shoulder against TMU. Like we're going into games motivated, confident, focused. We're pushing each other at practice. Yeah, I think it's a good feel in the locker room for sure.
And for you personally, you come in, you're one of the older players on the team. You have all this amazing experience, but you're also meeting a bunch of new players and new coaches and stuff like that. So is that sort of a weird balance to strike where you're like a rookie and a vet at the same time sort of thing?
Yeah, I would say so. That's been challenging for me for sure. There is an age gap. I mean, I was born in 2000, so I'm 25. And I'm realizing that some of these players are just coming out of high school. So just trying to remind myself of where I was coming out of high school. Like there's still so much to learn. I've developed so much as like a player and like as a person since I was coming out of high school. So I think just like just understanding that and kind of approaching them differently than let's say like Hannah, who's very experienced and confident in her role. So, yeah, I think you have to take a different approach to different players and understand that.
That's really cool. We won't get into what year I was born, but you're still young. Have you learned a lot of like high school slang and stuff like that from the young players? Did they teach you? Do you know 6'7"? I'm sure you do.
Actually, yeah, one of our teammates' nicknames is 6'7". So
oh, good.
I've heard that term a lot over the past couple months.
I bet. Well, yeah. So fighting, like I said, for one of the top spots here. Every game matters as we come down the stretch. Are you guys approaching anything differently? I like to ask this question a lot around this time of year to a lot of different players as we start talking to the top teams here. Does anything change for you as we approach these important games and ramp up for the playoffs?
I'd like to say yes and no. I think like we still need to stick to like what's been making us successful. We've had a pretty successful season, and we want to stick to like our core principles. And I mean, our coach preaches defense, rebounding, so that's what we try and stick to, and we believe that when we have those two things, the offense will flow. But also there are things that we are emphasizing coming into playoffs. Like we have to play with that chip on our shoulder. We have to come in strong. Every game matters at this point, so we do have to have that in the back of our minds too.
And you mentioned rebounding. That was one more thing I wanted to get to before I let you go here. You're an excellent rebounder. I love watching you battle down low for those boards. Is there an art to that? Is there a science to it? How do you approach the beautiful underrated art of rebounding?
Yeah, I would say just not ball watching. Sometimes it's hard when you see a shot go up. You're just like watching it. But I would say seeing where the shot was put up, you can kind of predict where the rebound is going to go. So having that like extra step and like predicting the board and pursuing it, yeah, I would think that would be the main thing I think about.
That's good. I'm going to incorporate that. I feel like I'm a ball watcher through and through, so I'm going to start using that. Christina, thank you so much for taking the time today. Really appreciate it, and good luck the rest of the way and in the playoffs.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks again to Christina for coming on the show. All right, let's get into a hotly anticipated playoff breakdown. For those of you who are unfamiliar, maybe you're a new student, maybe you're new to OUA basketball, or maybe you just forget, 12 teams make the OUA playoffs. The top 4 seeds each get a bye through the first round, and the 3 division winners are guaranteed one of those top 4 seeds, even if they wouldn't be there on record alone. Luckily for us, all of our division leaders right now at this point would be there on record alone. And after those 3 division winners, it's just best record overall. It doesn't matter which division you're a part of. If you're part of those top 12 records in the conference, you will make the playoffs. Still, every single place in the standings matters. There's a ton to play for in the last couple weeks of the season here, so let's get straight into it. We'll start with the men, where our number 1 seed are our division leaders, obviously. Overall, Carleton sitting at 16-2. They're being closely followed right now by the Western Mustangs at 15-4. And only a half a game behind them. And the 3rd seed is Brock at 14-4. Those are your 3 division leaders right now. The 4th seed is the TMU Bold. They're just a game behind Brock at 13-5, fighting for the lead in that OUA Central. 5th seed is Ottawa at 12-6. They're only a half a game up on Queens, who's the 6th seed at 12-7. We mentioned they had the huge win over TMU. Only a couple of games separating those 2 teams. If TMU hits a cold streak and Queens stays hot, we could see lots of movement still. Then we got a bit of a drop down to a tie for the 7 and the 8 seed between Laurentian and Lakehead. They're both at 10-8. Guelph is in the 9th seed at 10-9. They're tied with Windsor, who's the 10th seed. In the 11th seed, we have the U of T Varsity Blues at 10-10. And 12th right now, we have Laurier, fresh off their huge win against Western. They are at 9-10. Over on the women's side, no more undefeated teams, but still a clear number 1 seed, at least for now. The Queens Gales sit at 18-1 on the season. They are obviously our number 1 seed. Right behind them, though, is TMU. They're 16-2. The Bold, that's good enough for number 2 in the conference. And then we have a tie right now for the lead of the OUA West between the Windsor Lancers and the Guelph Gryphons. They both sit at 15-4. Now, our first tiebreaker in the OUA is head-to-head record. but they are each 1-1 against each other this season. So our second tiebreaker is our point differential in the head-to-head. Windsor beat Guelph by 6 points back in November, but Guelph beat Windsor by 16 in January. So by my math, currently, Guelph is in the lead in the OUA West, but obviously a lot of basketball still to be played. Fifth seed goes to Carleton at 13-5. They're ahead of Western at 12-7. That's your 6th seed. 7th seed is Brock at 11-7. 8th seed is the York Lions at 10-8. They're tied with Laurentian, who are the 9 seed right now. Ottawa also at 10-8. So those 3 teams all tied for the 8th seed at the moment. Luckily, we've still got 3 or 4 games left for most teams to break that 3-way tie, because we don't want to get into the 3-way tie protocols. But for right now, those 3 teams are all tied for the 8th seed. Waterloo is your 11th seed at 8-10, and Mac right now is the 12th seed, final spot in the playoffs at 7-13. So with all that in mind, there is plenty to watch this upcoming weekend. Capital Hoops is going to be a main draw. Obviously, that goes Friday night from Ottawa, but especially for the women, that game has some seeding implications in the playoffs. Both teams really could use another W there as they try and fight their way towards the top of the standings, so a lot on the line. Many other important games, however, as well, besides just Capital Hoops. TMU heads to Guelph for an amazing matchup that both teams will really want to win as they fight for top seeds. We mentioned Guelph tied for the lead in their division right now with Windsor. Western and York will play each other as they both fight to move up the standings. It's a tough weekend for the Lions as they get the Mustangs and the Windsor Lancers, so if they pick up a couple losses there, that could send them tumbling down the order a little bit. We mentioned they're in that 3-way tie right now. And then Brock plays Ottawa as the GGs move to look up the ladder, but also a tough weekend for the GGs with the Ravens and the Badgers. So tons of teams that are all jockeying for a position right now, playing each other. So make sure you're glued to OUA TV all weekend on the women's side. On the men's side, Toronto needs a win against Waterloo to stay comfortable in the playoff picture. Windsor and Lakehead both really in need of a W right now when you look at the standings. And then Lakehead plays Western on Saturday night. 2 really good teams that have been struggling right now in the second half. They will both get a chance to right the ship. Meanwhile, Ottawa plays Carleton and Brock, so unless they can pull off an upset, we might see a couple losses for Ottawa that could send them down the order a little bit. Plenty of movement still left to be had, plenty of great basketball still left to be played. One more episode, one more weekend before the playoffs begin. Exciting stuff. My name's Griffin Porter. Thank you so much for watching the OUA Basketball Show.